Right, hello everyone, and welcome to the debut developer stream for the Reaper Classic, which is the latest and the very first remastered classic expansion for Talisman Digital 5th edition. So it literally published it like half an hour ago, so everything's a bit mad here at Nomad. We're running around trying to make sure everything's as it should be. Well, I'm running around making sure everything's as it should be. And yeah, it's a very exciting day. We've also rolled out obviously we've rolled out an update for 5th edition, but there's a couple more changes to the game, just like minor fixes and quality of life improvements. So check out the patch notes over on Steam. I've published them, so you can check those out as well. But yes, hello and welcome to the Reaper Classic, which is the first of many expansions that we're going to be bringing to 5th edition from 4th edition. So for anyone that doesn't know, basically Talisman Digital Classic Edition is based on the 4th edition of the board game, and therefore has all of the same expansions that you could find in the 4th edition. For the 5th edition of the board game, which was published last year physically, we've released this digital adaptation, which you can see looking all shiny and cool on here. And we had a debate internally. We were like, okay, well, they're going to bring out expansions for the physical version of 5th edition, but there's all of this 4th edition content that we could bring over, that we could, like, it still would work. We'd have to make some tweaks to fit within the 5th edition rules, but is that something that we want to do? And we decided that what we were going to do is take all of those old expansions that people have come to grow and love over the last 11 years, and not just bring them over as is. Like, we didn't want to just do a slapdash, everything's in as it is, we haven't updated any of the artwork, because like the difference in art and the difference in the way that the game's presented has changed a lot between 4th and 5th edition. Like, that's one of the most striking things. So what we decided to do was to take those old expansions and remaster them, essentially. So we took all of the characters, we took all of the cards, we took all of the mechanics that were in those old expansions, starting with the Reaper, and we remastered them. So we got new artwork, we got new character art for all of the cool people that you can play as. I'm playing as the Dark Cultist. I've got to play as the Dark Cultist. From those old expansions to make it so that it fits with the new 5th edition look. Like, we didn't want it to be jarring when you played these together, because I'm sure out there's people that have got the 5th edition physical game and then just smushed the physical expansions from 4th into it, which works. Oh, sorry, I was just reading chat. Much in the same way that 2nd edition Talisman was released in some countries with the expansion set included, I think most people believe that the Reaper is a must-have expansion for the game. Yeah, that seems to be the general community consensus, is that the Reaper is one of those expansions that, you know, adding it to the base game makes it a more well-rounded experience as a whole. And to be fair, like, from us playing internally here at Nomad and from what our beta testers have been saying, like, that's very true. Like, I think it just adds something to the base game that the base game kind of needs. Because for anyone that's played a huge amount of Talisman, you'll know that you sort of reach a point where you expect there to be the expansions, you expect there to be the extra cards. And I think the Reaper is a really good example of how expansions can just make Talisman a more well-rounded experience, personally. Do you know when the physical Reaper game will be available at all? So, good question. So I can talk a little bit about that, because obviously Games Workshop and Hasbro have put out the physical 5th edition. They've also put out the Alliances and the Nemesis expansion. And for the Alliances expansion, we are currently working on a digital version of that. But for these remastered 4th edition versions of these expansions, these are digital exclusive. So as far as we know, there's no plans on Hasbro or Games Workshop's end to take what we've done with the Reaper, for example, and bring it to the physical game. It'd be cool if they did, from a personal point of view. From like our stuff that we worked on for the digital game is really being released physically. But no, as of right now, the only way that you can play this 5th edition version of the Reaper is through the digital adaptation. So if you want to play all these shiny new Reaper cards with updated art, updated rulings to fit within the 5th edition rule set, digital 5th edition is the place to do that. You can't get it physically, so right. Could do the Dance Macabre. I feel like the Dance Macabre is I'm gonna do that. Also, we've redesigned this ending screen, obviously preparing ourselves for all of the future expansions that we're going to be bringing, because when we launched, we only needed to have 2 endings, so it was easy enough to fit that in house rule. But we're preparing for the future. We've got plans for 5th edition, so yeah, we've redesigned this ending screen, which is quite cool. Right, I'm gonna do just the Dance Macabre. Yeah, choose characters, change of fate seems like a good idea. Don't really want Diatoad. Let's do a random first player though. Should I play without the Grim Reaper NPC? Probably seems like a bad idea to debut the game, debut the expansion without the big feature of it, so I'm going to keep him on. And we're going to play as all of the new characters. Right, let's load it up and see what we've got. Also, before I start playing, something that's worth... Oh, here he comes. Yeah, put a lot of effort into making it so that it's cool when the Grim Reaper arrives. Because I think that's something that we wanted to draw more attention to. Like, we've got a lot more ability to draw attention to stuff in digital. That tells me straight away. What a lucky son of a gun. Right. There is a fan-made physical version of 5th edition Reaper, but as far as I know, it's only available in Polish. Why am I not surprised that it's only available in Polish? The dedication that the Polish fan base show for Talisman is quite impressive. Also, not sure if the contents 100% matches its digital adaptation. So I imagine it won't, because up until 40 minutes ago, the contents of the Reaper Classic Remastered expansion weren't fully known. We hadn't shown off all of it and it wasn't publicly available. So unless they are lurking over my shoulder somehow, I imagine it won't fully match. Right, let's see what we got. Let's get a sword. I like a sword. Sword seems like a good idea. So if/when Avalon Hill Games decide to release a Reaper expansion, they will take direction from you guys, or you do think they'll have to update the digital edition to suit their new rules/updates? So that's a good question, Glenn. Basically, at the moment, what our idea would depend on it would depend on how they did it, basically. So if they did a version of the Reaper expansion for 5th edition that is basically 90% what we've done, like we've just taken that old expansion, updated the artwork, updated the cards so that the mechanics match with 5th edition, updated the characters slightly. If they did that, then we wouldn't really need to make another expansion, right? Because what they've done and what we've done is so similar. We just need to either replace the artwork or make sure that what they've done matches what we've done. Like, we're always going to take from the physical game. Like, at the end of the day, our I got forest or a chapel. Let's go forest. I'm not going to spend a fate to reroll. Let's reroll the dice. Let's reroll. A 6. I'll gain a crack. I'm alright with that. Yes, so if they did a new version of the Reaper that was like mechanically different, new cards, wasn't just a remaster like we've done, what we would do in that instance is we would have 2 versions of the Reaper available in digital 5th edition. One, which would be the Reaper Classic, which is what we've done here, which is take all the stuff from the Reaper that you know from 4th edition, remaster it, and bring it into 5th edition as you remember it. Obviously with like new artwork, all new cool stuff. If they did a mechanically distinct version of the Reaper to the point where it's basically a new expansion, what we'd have is we'd give you 2 options to choose from. You'd either be able to play with the Reaper Classic, or you'd be able to play with the physical 5th edition version of the Reaper with all of the new mechanics and whatever else Games Workshop and Hasbro decide to add to that. So it wouldn't be a case of, oh, the new physical version comes out, we get rid of the Reaper Classic and swap it out with the physical version. We'd want to give you those 2 options. Also with the deck editor and things like that, you'd be able to swap in cards as you want, which should be really good for, customizing how much of the classic Reaper you wanted and potentially how much of a new Reaper you wanted. Fields and plains. Let's go fields. Exciting. So you guys went on a solo quest. Amazing. Yes, basically everything that we've done for remastering. Sleep, like it. Everything we've done for remastering this expansion has been done with Games Workshop and Hasbro approval. So while it's not based on a physical release, it still has had the approval of everyone over at Games Workshop and Hasbro, which is quite fun. Ooh, I get to move the Grim Reaper. I also appreciate the little glowing redness on him. Let's move him. There you go, my buddy. There you go. See, this is why I needed to stream this, because it's literally like my 2nd turn of the game, and I'm already showing off the Grim Reaper. Alright, enough of me rambling. Let me see what chaps say. There's a family physical version. Yep, I've seen that. I still sometimes get confused with the Talisman sign for rolling 6, as in the 4th edition, the Talisman on the die is when you roll a 1. Yes, so that's something that we've heard quite a bit, and caught out a lot of the Nomad team, admittedly, when we first started playing 5th edition. But for those that don't know, on the dice for 4th edition, the Talisman symbol represented a 1. On the dice for 5th edition, the Talisman symbol represents a 6. So, whereas previously, seeing the symbol would go, oh, I've rolled a 1, now it means 6. But after 10 plus years of conditioning to expect a talisman symbol to mean a 1, now that it means a 6, it's taken quite a bit for players to get used to that change, even to the point where people have left us negative reviews for 5th edition because they've said, oh, this game seems great, but the dice are bugged because every time I roll a 1, it doesn't move me correctly. It's like, well, it is moving you correctly because that's not a 1 anymore. One of the things we have talked about quite a bit internally is whether or not we add the option to change to legacy dice. So let you change it so that the talisman symbol is back on the 1 to remove that confusion. The only issue we have with that is that we need to figure out what happens when you've got multiple people playing. So I think that's going to be part of adding more customization options to the dice, because, you know, if we're going to be having to give players the option to have their own dice that's unique to them, then we might as well do both the swap of the talisman logo and those customization options at the same time. Just glow the talisman symbol when it is rolled. See, that could work, but I think people still just assume that it means 1 because they've spent 10 plus years rolling 1s and getting the talisman logo. A giant, a regular giant. Alright. I love a lot of the artwork in 5th. Yes, I really like the art. I think the team over at Hasbro and the team over at Games Workshop have done a really good job on the artwork, and yeah, we've tried to match that. For anyone that hasn't read any of the original preview blogs, basically for all of the artwork from the Reaper, we took the original artwork from 4th edition, used that as a basis, and then created a sketch from that, which we could then work on to make a new 5th edition version of that artwork. So a lot of it looks the same, but also updated, and our art team have done a really good job, to be fair. There's only 2 people in our art team, but I think they've absolutely smashed it. I think they've done an amazing job on updating all of the old artwork from the Reaper to match the rest of the 5th edition experience. Should add to the confusion and let the host select which number they want the talisman to represent. I vote for a 3. That's a good suggestion. I think so. Going back to what I was saying, I think ideally what we'd have would be every single player has their own dice that they've chosen how to style. So if I wanted to have dice the classic way, that would only affect me, because the issue is how do you decide who sets what the dice look like? And plus, when you're playing a physical board game, how many of you have your own, like, oh, these are my lucky dice, these are the ones that always let me win? So we think giving every single player the ability to have their own dice that they can customize is a better way of doing it. But that is a future update, and right now we are Reapering. Thanks for the Reaper expansion. I'm going to play that later in the middle of Pokemon game. More fun coming. See you, chat and Tom. Thanks for tuning in, Glenn. Anyone that hasn't already, search for Glenn1N on YouTube. Him and another cool guy called Lord Zod play a lot of Talisman. They have a lot of fun. We had a developer stream where we teamed up to play. It was a lot of fun. Death is among us. Death is among us. I'm glad you're excited, Rainbow Slimpy. Yeah, it's been a mad morning as we've just got approval to put out the Reaper Classic. So I've pressed all the buttons this morning, sent out all the emails, all the socials, and now we're playing with this shiny new expansion. So if anyone's got any more questions about the expansion, please feel free to throw my way. Lucky Dice, aka Weighted. Hey, they shouldn't be weighted until Dungeon is out. Yeah, I think giving people more dice customization options for how they look is probably the more important thing over the ability to put in weighted dice. All right, let's. Where's the Grim Reaper right now? Actually see it. Where is the Reaper? Yeah. Oh, there he is. I can see him there. I think he was. Ooh, I'm getting Fate. Yeah, I'm out with that. Let's move this lad. Right. So here. Let's move to the ruins. Let's stick him in the inner region. I think that's a good idea. Only have the standard board game at the moment. It's very cool to see. Oh, you mean the physical or the digital version? Rainbow, thank you. Also, before I forget, because I'm trying to do 200 things at once, for anyone that hasn't picked up 5th edition yet, 5th digital version, we currently have a Talisman super sale happening over on Steam. So you can get percentage off the 5th edition digital game, and also if you are someone who already owns the Reaper expansion, to celebrate the Reaper launching, we have put together the 5th edition Reaper bundle. So basically it's a complete your collection bundle, where if you already own the Reaper, you'll get an extra percentage off 5th edition. So it's a really good incentive if you want to bring across your Reaper expansion that you already own, and access this super cool remastered 5th edition version of the Reaper. It's a cheaper way of doing that. So I know a couple of people have already picked it up, and have picked it up in anticipation of the Reaper coming out, and because we also have the Talisman Super Sale right now on Steam. As you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, that probably isn't on anymore, so good, you should have got it then, but because the Talisman Super Sale is on now, and that bundle still is available, combining them both gets you a good discount. So the VFX on the Reaper is very cool, feels more menacing for sure. Yes, I imagine I might play another game later today, but the effect when the Reaper spawns on the map is something that we put a lot of time and effort into it, because we wanted to make sure that it was like menacing. We wanted the Reaper to seem like, oh dear, you are gonna get absolutely mugged. Right. Yes, and one other thing that I can point out while I'm waiting for the AI to take their turn is we've implemented a house rule for the Reaper expansion, where you can play with the Reaper expansion without the Grim Reaper himself. So it doesn't seem like that's a thing that people would go, oh well, that's a cool addition, like you're playing the expansion without the NPC. But the difference with 5th edition is that with 5th edition you have the deck editor. So for anyone that hasn't played digital 5th edition, this is a new feature that we weren't able to ever add in the old version of digital edition for technical reasons, where you can go into the adventure deck, spells deck, the Warlock quest deck, now that that's a thing, thanks to the Reaper. And you can either add multiple copies of cards that you want to see more of, or you can completely remove cards that you don't like. So like, one of the most common things that people say is, oh, the Poltergeist's really annoying. I really don't like playing with the Poltergeist. Also, I realised that I've had a wand this entire time and I haven't been cycling through my spells. So anyone that's been watching me do that, I apologise for my subpar Talisman play. Yes, so you can fully customise how many copies of any card are in the adventure deck. So like, if you want to take out all of the spells, replace them all with random, you can do that. And so being able to play with the Reaper expansion without the Reaper himself means that you still get to use that adventure deck. So if you want to play with the 5th edition base game and you only want to add a handful of cards from the Reaper just to like tweak the experience a little bit to suit what you want, you can do that. If you want to take everything out of the base game and only play with Reaper cards, you can do that. If you want to just add like, okay, these certain cards from the base game, these certain cards from the Reaper, however you want to mix and match it, you know, we've given you the ability to do that. And I think this is something that someone pointed out in a previous stream, is that because we're a digital version, we can add multiples of cards, which isn't something that you can easily do with the physical game. Like with the physical game, it's easy enough to just take out, like, oh, we don't like this card, stick it in the box, we want them to play with it. But because this is a digital version, we're not limited by, like, oh, how many copies do I own? Like, if you want to add 10 dragons into the adventure deck, you either need to go out and purchase those physical cards or somehow get 10 copies of 5th edition to add it. Digital edition, you just click a button and it's there. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. Alright, let's move to the graveyard. So yes, so that's something that we're really excited to see what players do with the deck editor with 5th edition, especially with the Reaper now, because I think it's gonna give players way more options of how they want to play their game, and we're expecting some cool custom decks, and also you can play with your custom decks online. So like last week, the week before, I played with some community members, some really cool community members, Glen 1N and Lord Zod, and we played with a custom deck there, where they built this whole story around the custom deck. So like, the things that people were experiencing were based on an ongoing story that they'd set up, which meant that they could tune the custom deck to be more suited to the story they wanted to tell. It was really cool. Shrub says, it's only the extremely OP cards I would remove. I'm actually known in my Talisman group for horrible death games, but might add 2 or 3 extra Poltergeist. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. Like, we've given people the option, because Talisman means so many different things to so many different people. Like, we've worked on Talisman for nearly 12 years now. One of the things that we've learned, like, over and over again, is everyone likes to play Talisman differently. And I think for us, especially with digital 5th edition, we've made it with giving you those customization options as much as we can. Like, we want to give you the tools to be able to customize your Talisman game as much as you can. And we're only going to add more. Like, the more expansions we add, the more remastered expansions we add, as we add alliances and other new expansions, it's only going to get more customizable, which is really exciting. Like, I think we've set up a really strong foundation for what people can expect for Talisman, which is exciting. Cast on another character to start their turn. The character takes their move in normal, except you decide which direction they move in. Okay, cool. So let's roll the dice, and let's go to the ruins. I just purchased the 5th edition with the Reaper bundle. Dozzo Dozzo, you are officially cool. Sorry I didn't say that sooner, because I was busy talking about all the cool stuff that we're doing. But appreciate you doing that, because that literally keeps roofs over our heads here at Nomad Games. Oh, I can't have the Holy Lance, that's a bit sad. I owned the 4th edition on Steam since release date, been awesome over the many years watching it change, bug fixes and more bugs added. For a glitchy game, it's very addictive. So this is something that people bring up a lot, which, you know, is entirely fair, and we've never not talked about it. I'm always happy to talk about it. Digital Classic Edition, as it is known now, was never designed to have as many moving parts as it does. Spell. Let's have you fight the Sentinel, because you might lose, and that'd be funny. Yeah, basically, when we first made Talisman as a digital game, we figured we'd only do the base game, and then maybe a handful of expansions. Up to 11 years later, and you have the base game, 13 expansions, legendary decks, and over 100 characters to play as. And given that when we originally published Talisman Digital Edition, like I said, we expected it to maybe have a handful of expansions, we never designed it to be able to support as many expansions as it now has. So we're basically building upon a pretty shaky framework, which we managed to make work. Like, we managed to make it so that that wasn't too much of an issue. Like, we managed to make it happen. But once you have that many expansions, once you have that many characters and those many things to take into account on a game that was never designed to properly handle that from the ground up, it just gets a bit buggy. And there's no way around that. And we wish that there was a way around it, but sadly there isn't. And we've worked so hard over the last 11 years, like you said. We've made changes to the game, bug fixes, but the issue is that if you fix a bug, sometimes it can cause another bug to appear for seemingly no reason. So it's like a bit of a whack-a-mole situation. But, you know, we've tried our best to fix it, and I think one of the things that we really appreciate coming into 5th edition is the fact that with the knowledge that we've got from those 10 years, we were like, okay, we're not going to code ourselves into a corner. We're not going to make it so that in another 10 years we're saying the same thing about 5th edition. Like, we properly stripped back the engine, got rid of a lot of that bloat, got rid of a lot of that legacy code, so that we have a much stronger foundation with 5th edition to add all of these classic expansions, all stuff like alliances, all the other cool things that we've got planned for the game. So yes, basically I didn't want to just ignore your comment about it being a glitchy game, because, you know, sometimes there are bugs in it, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say, oh no, it's a completely bug-free game, classic edition. And like 5th edition also, like, we've had a couple of bug reports from the community that we've jumped on as soon as we can. You know, in an ideal world, no game would launch with bugs or issues, but it's not an ideal world, but we're trying our best. And, you know, having some patience and some understanding as we're rolling out new updates is all we can ask for, and we appreciate it. Hey Tom, good to see you again, and thank you and the Nomad Games team for the Reaper expansion. I'm already looking forward to being a Dark Cultist. Yeah, Dark Cultist is definitely my fave out of all the Reaper characters. So I appreciate the Dark Cultist love. Right. A skull wand. So now I have a wand and a skull wand? Do I have 2 skull wands? Oh, no. I have a wand and a skull wand, so I'm dual wielding wands. Eat your heart out, Harry Potter. I'm happy with my dual wielding wands. That's quite fun. So sorry, don't know if you answered my question. I've just been away from the screen for a mo. Apologies if I missed your response. A lot of bugs and glitchy bits were easy enough to handle, as I would tell people it's a small team and you lot have done a great job with what you have done and do, in my opinion. Most of the bugs were never game breaking. Being active on Discord also helped knowing things can get fixed when possible. Yeah, I think one of the things that we've tried to do as well with results of the temple. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Also realised I paid money for the ferryman and completely ignored it. This is the issue you get when you are trying to play the game and stream at the same time. Let's get a healer. Ooh. Let's roll for the temple. 10. 2 lives. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Being out from Discord and also help knowing things can get fixed when possible. Yeah, one of the major things that we came across with the 4th edition of why am I doing this on myself? This seems foolish. I just lost. Yeah. I'm trying to answer you guys and play the game at the same time, and that's making me mess up. And it's definitely not because I'm a bad player. Definitely not. Cool. Yeah, one of the things that we really appreciate about 5th edition is the fact that, you know, at the moment we only have the Steam version to worry about, and we've put a lot of effort into making it so that any patches, any fixes that we need to roll out, it's a lot of a smoother process. Whereas with 4th edition, if we wanted to fix an issue, we had to update the Steam, iOS, Android, Xbox, PlayStation and Switch versions, which all could have different reasons that that issue's happening, and all could have, like, it could be a issue on just one platform, but because we need to make sure every platform runs the same, rolling out that fix that doesn't actually change anything on, like, the Switch version, for example, could cause a Switch specific issue, and then it just balloons into a whole nightmare. So I think one of the things that we really appreciate about 5th edition is the fact that, like I said, we've stripped the engine back and we have put a lot of time and effort into making sure that the stuff that's on the back end, the code and the programming, like, is a lot easier for our team to do. I'm gonna go get my wands back. After I was a fool. I'll take that. Take that. Let's get a fate. If you own on Classic, it should get transferred to 4th as they get released. Oh, Jason1701A, was your question about backwards compatibility? If so, yes, I did answer that question. And if you buy the 5th edition of Reaper, you will get access to it in Classic as well. So whether you buy it in Classic and then bring it over to 5th, or buy it in 5th and bring it back over to Classic, wherever you buy the Reaper, you will gain access to both versions at no additional cost. So you will never have to buy the Reaper twice. You've already been a great team since you are transparent about it. It makes a difference. Thank you. That's genuinely really nice to hear. Because I think one of the things that I try to do, because for anyone that doesn't know, marketing and publishing through Nomad, that's me. We don't have a social media manager, we don't have a publishing manager, we don't have a streamer or content creator for our studio. It's just me. So because everything comes through me, and because everything that we do, I've got full oversight on, it's like, well, we can just be as transparent as we want, because I know that what I say isn't going to conflict with what anyone else says. It's always going to be the same. Right, let's see if I can fight a Lord Kit. Ooh. Now, do I re-roll? Because technically I've got quite good odds of either winning. Like, I've only got a 2 out of 6 chance of losing if I re-roll. So 1 out of 6, I would stay the same. Oh no, I have the do it re-roll. I have the change of fate house rule on, so I will get something other than 3. Like, I'm guaranteed to get something other than 3. Yeah. Disappointing. Just because I'll get something different than 3 doesn't mean I'll be higher than 3. That is Talisman. Roll a die to remove the Grim Reaper. Oh, I get to remove the Grim Reaper. Also, something I've realised as I'm playing this now is when you roll the Grim Reaper, it'd be good if the camera moved the Grim Reaper. So I'm going to pass that feedback onto the rest of the team, because I think that'd be a good thing to be able to see, like, oh, here's where the Grim Reaper's going to go, or where he is currently. It's time for lunch. I'll check back in later, but congrats on the release of Reaper. Looks fab. Much love. Thank you, Talisman Island. For anyone that hasn't checked out, I'm sure if you're a Talisman fan, you've heard of Talisman Island. He's legendary in the Talisman community. But yeah, thank you very much, Talisman Island. Appreciate it. Don't blame a skill issue, Tom. I can't blame you guys. It's a skill issue. So, saber-toothed tiger. Yeah. So one of the things that people might notice from the Reaper expansion, or the 5th edition version of it, is the little Reaper icon that we put in the top of all the Reaper cards. So it's one of those things that in the 4th edition there was a little icon to represent which expansion the card was originally from, just to make it easier to see where it actually came from. But obviously with the 5th edition, the cards had a complete redesign, focused more on the artwork. So we're like, okay, well, how are we going to do that with these remastered cards. Like, what's the actual process going to look like? How are we going to get that across? And I think the little icon that we've managed to put on, which is probably what we're going to stick with for all of the other remastered 4th edition expansions, is a good way of doing it. Like, it gives you enough that you can look at it and go, okay, I get that's from the Reaper. Let's go all in on craft. Oh, I don't get to choose course because I'm a dark cultist. Do, however, get a barrier, which is quite cool. Right, let's have a look. The knight is going to go next to me. Nice. Right, so I think what I'm going to do, because I'm just about to finish my tea, is because this is launch day for the Reaper, so there's a lot going on. I am going to stop the stream here and then jump back on in an hour or two, because I want to make sure that, obviously, as I mentioned previously, I'm the only person here at Nomad who is responsible for the marketing and putting out all the fun content that you guys can see around the game. So I want to make sure everything's running as it should be. I don't need to put out any fires or jump on anything. So if you have purchased 5th edition and the Reaper bundle, thank you, you're very cool. If you haven't, it should still be available. So you can get a discount on 5th edition if you already own the Reaper expansion for Classic Edition. So basically, if you own the old version of the Reaper, get a bonus discount on 5th edition. It's also still on sale. It's on sale for the next 4 hours, I do believe, over on Steam. So if you haven't got it, now is the time to get it. Yes, I will jump back on to play some more Reaper, try and continue on this game, Adventure as the Dark Cultist. But yes, check out the Reaper expansion. The full patch notes are up on Steam as well. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll see you all in a little bit. Bye.